Welcome to another AMA with Kadena Ecosystem. In this episode, we'll be speaking with the team from Flux. This conversation was recorded on June 16th, 2023, live on Twitter Spaces. The views and expressions in this AMA do not represent the views of Kadena Ecosystem directly and are not to be considered as financial advice. Please make sure to do your own research on the projects presented. Also make sure to follow and subscribe to our account to be alerted of new uploads. Now let's get started. Enjoy. Welcome everybody to another AMA with Kadena Ecosystem. Today we have joining with us the good folks over at Flux. They are building some really cool tools and we're here to learn more about them. I think this is the first time we've actually spoken with the team from Flux, so I'm very interested to learn a lot more. So TSN, why don't you go ahead, take it over, give yourself a little introduction, and then just let us know what Flux is all about.
Yeah, so my name's Richard Lofthouse. I'm Flux Labs manager, go by TSN Crypto, so you can follow me there. You can also follow Flux Running Flux, and you can also join our incubator program at Running Flux Labs. I've been following Flux for quite some time, so recently I went one step further and joined the team, came on board to support with sort of a lot of this stuff, a lot of the incubator stuff, helping with a lot of the projects. So I suppose that's where we're sort of looped in and connecting together. Yep, that's a good intro.
Yeah, it's a good quick little intro about yourself and everything. Now, for people who don't know what Flux is, can we maybe just kind of quickly just go over what Flux is, how it operates, and we'll go a little bit more into detail after that?
Yeah, sure. So if you think about Flux as sort of the compute or AWS of the internet, so we offer those compute services as part of our layer 2. Then we've got the Flux token and the parallel sets, which is sort of the driving force and the utility token that pushes the ecosystem and the applications and development that people want to launch on the Flux infrastructure. So same as AWS, you might want to deploy a droplet, an image, you might want to host a website. You can do that all via Flux. That sort of drives into it. You pay with Flux, or even if you, in the future when you want to pay with fiat, that all drives out into the Flux utility token, which is a proof of work token, mineable token.
Awesome. So for people who are unaware of what that is, a lot of people know what AWS is, which is Amazon Web Services. A lot of people are kind of familiar with that because, as we found out, when AOS goes down, or AWS goes down, a lot of the internet goes down along with it, which is very scary and shows just how centralized those systems can be. Can you maybe go over the benefits of using a system like Flux versus using something like AWS, besides the obvious of centralization versus decentralization?
Yeah, so there's a lot of, funny enough, in my day job, I've just been on an AWS immersion workshop because we use AWS, and now I've sort of seen that direct compare between them and Flux firsthand directly from the guy from AWS, the Flux. Think about Flux is a node infrastructure which is hosted by people at home. So you might have a PC, a Raspberry Pi, you might have an old laptop, or you might have sort of enterprise gear servers. You can host Flux on it, so you can host it on cloud services, but we prefer people to host at home. So it does decentralize the network, but the compare between it is completely different. With AWS, you're paying for compute, I think, from what I'm gathering, by the second almost for using compute resources, and it's very, very expensive. So the first thing will be price, which will lead to adoption. But the other things are its redundancy as well. So because we are a decentralized network, we don't just give you one instance. You end up with maybe 3 or 4 instances, which is load balanced between different locations across the world. So that gives us the sort of fallover. If one location goes down, it'll just go somewhere else. but then you've got the two redundant instances that it'll flip over to, depending on the setup of the application and how you want to use them.
Yeah, that I feel like the instance thing is rather important when it comes to Flux and its infrastructure, because with AWS, you just get the one instance. If it goes down, that's it. It goes down. Your websites go down. Everything goes down along with it. So, but having Flux with the multiple instances, if one goes down, then other ones just step in its place and continue along the way. So it's really definitely night and day between the two systems for sure. Now,
and we're trying to make it easily deployable as well. So I think that's part of the onboarding as well as the process, is making that user interface good and easy for you to drop in. So that's some of the major achievements that we've got going on at the moment.
Now, speaking of onboarding and getting people into using Flux, can we maybe discuss a little bit about the different node operations that you can do and how people can get involved with running nodes and the things that are involved with that?
Yeah, so there's sort of a few different options. There's like the nodes that you might traditionally sort of see on a blockchain, which is the ones you mine to and that support the network. But Flux sort of has nodes that have infrastructure, so that's where the applications sit. So if somebody launches an app on Flux, it spins up, you get 3 instances via Docker, and it'll go across to 3 different nodes across the world, which is sort of on different tiers. So recently we've sort of done a major update in Flux version 4, so that now entails sort of giving us sort of an enterprise score of what the nodes are and which ones are trusted nodes, and this ability. But from the point of view, if you want to set one up, there's 3 basic tiers. There's Cumulus, Nimbus, and Stratus. So those go sort of from 1,000 Flux all the way up to sort of 30-odd thousand Flux maybe staked for a Stratus. And the specs of the machines increase per each node tier. So if people require sort of high demand compute resource, they might need more RAM, they might need more cores, they might need more mem. We can tailor and give a solution that meets that. And you can actually sort of go into the app when you launch an application and say, I want this much RAM, I want this many CPU cores, this much memory, and it'll scale to the appropriate node. So if it's a basic application, it might go down to a Cumulus node. Something like a pre-search node might go onto a Cumulus node. If it's something like a complete system, or if somebody's running heavy infrastructure, they might go all the way up to a Stratus node, and then sort of our Titan nodes as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, the one thing that is kind of new for the nodes is the staking nodes. Now, a lot of people, when they hear staking, they automatically think proof of stake, and how do you stake on a proof of work network? Can you maybe talk a little bit about the staking nodes, and when you guys say staking Flux, what exactly that entails?
It's sort of not staking, it's sort of giving your Flux and locking it to basically provide somebody with some extra Flux to run a Titan node. So that gets grouped together, it gets split out, and then you get the sort of part of the reward. And if you're a single node operator, you get a reward as per the ranking system. But if you're a Titan node staker, that infrastructure is actually hosted by somebody else. So it might be hosted by, Terra hosts some Titan nodes, and selected parties that we can sort of guarantee the uptime. So we know those nodes are going to be online and they're going to sort of manage more by Flux to really support the core infrastructure of people who want to like triple cert, and the redundancy is going to be great. We know that the locations of the Titan nodes are. So from an outside perspective, you stake your Flux, but you're not sort of staking it, you're lending it to somebody, locking it up to run infrastructure for Flux. And they do different periods, different APRs. I think you can go all the way up to a year. When they do come out, they tend to go fast. So watch. Because obviously it's a good return, rather than staking on an exchange where you're just actually sitting it with the exchange and they're getting the reward. You're getting the reward directly for hosting infrastructure, basically.
So the staking nodes are kind of a good play for someone. So because for example, like running these nodes, you do have to have minimum spec requirements
Yeah,
for the PC that you're running them on. So it kind of sounds like these staking nodes are a good option for people who may not have the required, like for example, the Stratus nodes, you need 8 cores, 16 threads, 64 gigabytes of RAM. I don't know too many people unless they're super hardcore gamers or something like that have 64 gigabytes of RAM in their system, which is an 880 gigabytes. Now that a lot of people may have an 800. I know, like I have a 1 terabyte SSD drive in my PC, so I have that space. But I'm also running all my other stuff on it, and that takes up space as well. Okay. So that kind of sounds like the staking nodes are a good thing for people who may not necessarily have that infrastructure in their thing, but still want to participate in the system.
Yeah, exactly. And you might not have 1,000 Flux to start up your node as well. So I know when I started, I'm a bit like you. My sort of Cumulus nodes, sort of old CPU manning rigs that I've sort of jammed up. So those have got sort of decent CPUs, decent SSD, and also I just upgraded the RAM. So I sort of sit 3 nodes on one PC or on the server effectively. But people might not have 1,000 Flux, so you might be growing your rewards. So from my perspective, if I've got sort of 6 nodes running, I might be growing another 1,000 Flux. So if I stake the Flux that I've got as the rewards, then I'm getting rewards on my rewards, if you get what I mean. So I can go up the scale in the thing.
Yeah, that's definitely, it's good to see that you guys are offering different options for people who may not necessarily, have a huge amount of Flux, but still want to get involved with the system. So that's really good to hear that those options do exist out there for people, so that everyone has a chance to somewhat get involved.
Yeah, and we constantly opening that up to people to get involved as well. So some people might not meet the internet requirements either. So there is sort of a 20 meg up, 20 meg down that you need to have on the tier, and that scales up as you go up the node tiers. So yeah, it's a good way to get involved. If you see it come up, jump on it. Well, I can't give you financial advice, but I can say I do it. I'm happy with it. We're getting some up. Yeah, it's really good for some decentralized infrastructure, people to run their apps on.
Now, we're here mostly talking about Kadena, but Flux also is across multiple other blockchains and is utilizing some of the different structures that are involved with those blockchains, such as validators. Can we maybe talk a little bit about the structure of, so when someone starts running these nodes and getting rewards and stuff like that, there's also, it branches outside of just Kadena. Can we maybe go over the different ways that people can earn and the things that, and the different blockchains that are utilizing Flux?
Yeah, sure. I think the couple of main ones that sort of popped to my mind, which is sort of one of the biggest utilizations of Flux, is pre-search. So pre-search is a web-based sort of decentralized private search that sort of sits in between Google and everybody else giving away your information, keeps that information private, and you get paid in pre-search, but those go through nodes which we can set on our infrastructure. So for a pre-search node, I found it really, really useful, because when you spin up an instance or an application on Flux, you get 3 instances, so you can actually run sort of three pre-search nodes. You can take that, you can lock it up now, you can take it all the way up to a year, and price is good compared to a lot of cloud providers. But then there's other nodes as well. So have you heard of Streamer Data?
Yeah.
So Streamer is an application that's sort of, you've got to imagine it as live stream data across the platform. So people like Demo use it for their car information, and Swash app use it for their browser based, and a couple of other banking applications use it as well. But their node infrastructure is sort of similar, so you can stake data and do similar, but then you've effectively got a node running on a node, and we've got think we've got over 1,000 or 2,000 streamer nodes now, so a lot of their networks become a lot more decentralized, because before, when I first looked at it, it was only run on sort of centralized cloud exchanges, centralized sort of cloud services, which now you can run it on Flux, and it offers an opportunity of decentralizing their network as well as our network, which is good. Those are the two main ones. Like, then we've got Algo as well.
Oh yeah, there's a good couple of chains that are on top of on Flux, because I think more people are starting to see the benefits of running their nodes on Flux as opposed to running their own infrastructure, because it can be very costly to run your own infrastructure. And Flux is definitely providing a low cost option outside of that running it yourself kind of box.
Yeah, and I think that trust has started to come in across the network. We see more coming in every day, sort of different applications, different support types. We've got people like Osmosis as well, who run part of their infrastructure on Flux. We've got like Kadena's run infrastructure on Flux. There's a lot of synergy and cohesion between the two ecosystems. So a lot of projects like CAD, SGK, to name a few, they all sort of run their infrastructure on Flux, but they use sort of Kadena to populate their NFTs or run the blockchain sort of transaction side, and we run the sort of infrastructure side. So it's a really good partnership to sort of work with the two parties, because we know the systems and we know how to best sort of work together now as well. So it's really positive.
Yeah, it's great to see more people joining. And one of the biggest ones I've noticed, which pops up right when you go to the runonflux.io website, is WordPress, which WordPress is a very huge infrastructure that goes across, like, there's so many websites that use WordPress. Can you maybe talk about the WordPress infrastructure, or like how WordPress was brought to Flux, and maybe some of the other partnerships that are in place or possibly are in talks with Flux? I'm sure people would love to hear of all the different huge kind of partnerships and things and ways that people are utilizing Flux.
Yeah, sure. I think WordPress it's still in beta, it's still growing. I think I run my website and it works great for me. I was involved with the testing and seeing it build and transition and fruition to what it is today, which is sort of an easy to deploy model. It's getting easier all the time. All you got to do is go to Flux Cloud or run on Flux, click through to WordPress, log into Zelcore, pay minimal. I think it's like $684 Flux or something a month. So like minimal cost, spins up, you get an instance, you got Flux, and it's ready to go. It's like you would do with any other WordPress, but there's a bit of a difference between how it sits in the background. So the infrastructure is on 3 different instances. So you've got redundancy and backup of your WordPress data as well across 3 different. So we've got databases run there. So WordPress runs on MySQL. So you've got 3 MySQL components across 3 different nodes. But then there's lots more infrastructure out there as well. And I don't know which ones you want to talk about, but in terms of partnerships, we've got lots going on. We've got the big ones with sort of Lumen, who are a cloud provider. So we see it as a way we can bridge between Web 2 and Web 3, because we don't want to sort of say, well, Web 2 is crap, because it's done a lot of stuff right. And there will be a transition in a period where we're working together to sort of bring more applications, vice versa between us, Lumen as well. They're big into infrastructure and IP. And these companies are sort of waking up thinking, well, if they can do it and the cost there, well, why wouldn't you? But then we've got sort of Cypherpunk and the big events. We've got the NVIDIA Inception program. I know Kadena's come into Cypherpunk as a gold sponsor, so that's fantastic. But yeah, it's growing every day. I see so many partnerships, not just with us, but with sort of our parallel asset partners as well. So the 9 other chains we've got there as well, we do get involved with them. And those relationships grow, and as time goes on and adoptions happen, it's really positive to see. I think there is sort of some big partnerships coming up. I don't think I can sort of leak it, or it's privileged to me yet, but there has been a lot of partnerships that come up. I see them announced every day. So yeah, I could give you a list a mile long, but if you go to run on Flux, I can sort of say we've probably got in the region of 50 to 100 partnerships already blooming. So
Yeah, you can see them. Yeah, like you said, if you go to the runonflux.io and just kind of scroll down, you can see all the different applications and things that are running on top of Flux as well. And it's just this scrolling list that just keeps going, going.
It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop, which is great because Flux has been going sort of the same time as sort of Kadena. Sort of they've sort of grown up together. So what's it, about 5-6 years old now? So to see the growth in the space, it's been really good, and to see more people deploying as well. So our solution and proposition's getting better all the time, and the cost's great as well. So if you bring up sort of our calculator compared to Flux for 2 CPUs, 8 gigs memory, 100 gigabytes storage, we're charging £3.69 per month. AWS is charging £80. It is $80, which is it's less than 10%. It's like 5% of the cost, 3% for small tier applications. So yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy when you see the breakdown of the different, like there's a quick little chart kind of on the website of the breakdown of the different services out there and the cost that comes with it. And Flux is just like a fraction, like a penny of the cost of these other ones. Like it's ridiculous when you actually look at it.
Yeah, and that's all because everything's hosted at home, so it's driven by the token. So we don't have to have the huge amount of scale that sort of AWS has. They have like thousands and thousands, probably tens of thousands of people worth of them. Flux has got probably about 70, but we're very agile with what we do. So we don't need to maintain that infrastructure. The decentralized administrators do it, so the node operators. We don't have that relationship cost. Now, as we scale, probably Flux will scale as well. But at that moment, it makes us a lot more agile in designing the market as well. And we can also team with the open source partners. So AWS wouldn't do that. They buy the IP. We develop our own, or we use other open source, decentralized and centralized products to make it better for everybody. Whereas probably if you're a supplier, you want to lock that information up and you don't share it with the world. So it makes that's now the difference.
Now, for some people who don't know, and maybe like, because when you hear Flux, you kind of think, oh, it hasn't been around that long. But actually, I've been around in crypto since late 2017, early 2018. And I remember where Flux came from, and that was something called Zcash, which kind of then makes sense now of why the wallet is called Core. I don't know how much you can speak on the history, because maybe some people don't know the history behind Flux and where it started. But can you maybe, if you know it, can you speak a little bit about the history from, because I actually remember Zcash. Like I remember that and seeing that crypto out there. So it's kind of crazy to see where it started and where it's gone to.
Yeah, so Flux is sort of a fork of Zcash, which is a fork of Bitcoin. So that started back then. And the original sort of creators and the founders, people like Dan, they are divisions sort of, well, you've got Bitcoin there that's giving you the benefits of that, but then you've also got this compute resource which isn't decentralized and it can't be used to sort of give the benefits of what Bitcoin's doing. So it sort of tackled that market, and the market's sort of grown from there. So the applications grow. We've got our own OS. We've got our own apps on app stores now. We've got the infrastructure, but that took time to build. And those guys sort of formed the idea that they wanted to build like the decentralized compute network for everybody. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to involve everybody. We're trying to involve the node operators through our DAO. So we've got a DAO which you can go through to the cloud. So the node operators, the miners, they get the vote on where we go in the future. Now, so the team does give a lot of steering input at the moment because they're building the products. They're building basically something to serve customers, but the direction of Flux will all sort of be controlled by what feeds through into the future, like Dan says, if it got knocked over by a bus tomorrow, Flux will keep going because it is decentralized. People do sort of really care about it and step up. Sort of from my perspective, I've come through from the community, and most of the people at Flux come through from the community. So the community has grown the project from its inception. But yeah, it was basically brought together to tackle the decentralized compute problem, and now it's scaled. And now the roadmap gets busier and busier, and now it grows a lot quicker. The bear markets are great for building.
It sure is. And the people who are able to continue to build through a bear market are the people that come out on top when the bulls finally start charging. We've seen that with we've seen that with all the different runs that we've seen ever since Bitcoin even first started. So, it's definitely, the people who can keep their head down and keep going are the people who are going to win. Now, one of the really cool things I think about Flux, which we saw a huge increase in when Ethereum did its whole switch over to proof of stake, is the fact that Flux is one of the very few GPU mineable coins that are still available out there. Can we maybe talk a little bit about how people can mine Flux and what all it would be involved in doing that kind of process as opposed to just running a node?
Yeah, that's what got me into Flux in the first place. So I'm in the UK, so I started mining Flux. So I've had 1.5 gigahash on Ethereum, but I was spec mining different coins and going through them, seeing which ones I wanted to do guides on and which ones I wanted to do sort of further analysis on to see what the hash rates were. And Flux was one of those. So I don't know how many miners we've got. I've got a feeling we've probably got quite a few. But yeah, it's a pretty simple process. You can use a cloud operating system like Hive or something like that. You start the algorithm, you put in your wallet address, start the miners, put in your overclock. Well, don't start your miners, put in your overclock, start your miners, and use the application. Or you can I started on Windows, which I found was a nightmare after a short while with interruptions and crashes. So I wouldn't recommend that, but you can download the miners, which basically solve the block, and do it at home as a hobby, or bring it up. But then I think it probably leads into proof of use of work, which we'll probably shift onto soon.
Yeah, it's one of the things I've actually been looking into now that I've got myself a fairly decent GPU. Was like, oh, what else can I use this computer for besides just playing video games once in a while and rendering videos really fast? So that's something I've been really looking into getting set up too, is getting into mining and looking at, like, if you just go to what to mine and look at GPU mining, Flux is right near the top, if not always at the top. So it's definitely one of the very few options that are left out there that are available to more of the masses. And that kind of seems to be the ongoing thing with Flux, is trying to keep it as open as possible to as many different people as possible, be it through GPU mining, be it through running in your own node, be it through staking to help run other nodes. There just seems to be so many options that you guys have been working towards that really just keeps the playing field open. And that's what really pushes decentralization, is keeping those options open for the most amount of people to be able to get involved.
Yeah, and people don't sort of realize we're already sort of running proof of useful work on our node infrastructure. So that's actually making those nodes useful. We've got applications sort of like folding at home as well, which does sort of the processing for a lot of medical research, which is open source. So we've just got into that market. So I think they've got about 5,000 instances. That's sort of running the sort of calculations against proteins to better medicine. So there's a lot of support on that as well. So, and people don't realize that stuff's happening at home on a PC. That's not AWS. It's not Microsoft. It's people are actually standing it up, and we can do it a lot cheaper. So we're actually aiding people, and we've given that resource to folding at home because it's a good cause to the betterment of humanity, and look for solutions to diseases like Parkinson's and other neuro diseases, and that's all running on Flux.
Now, you just mentioned something that I'm sure some people have probably never heard of, because most people have heard of proof of stake and proof of work. I don't think too many people have ever heard of what proof of useful work is. Can you maybe explain a little bit more about what you mean when you say proof of useful work? And also something I saw that Flux announced recently in regards to that is a partnership with a company called Octominer. So I don't know if maybe you want to cover a little bit more into those aspects.
Yeah. A lot of people know Octominer in the GPU mining world. I've got an Octominer, so an Octominer is like it fit between 8 and 12 GPUs in one case. But they supply a lot of the infrastructure, and they're going to be supplying sort of some of the cases and the rigs to fit GPUs in that might not be for like the smaller branded people or smaller people just getting into the industry, but people going at scale I'd probably look at a partnership with Octominer, so they'll supply the infrastructure. I think they give us like a 3-year guarantee with it, and their provision and set up to use it. And also that they're sort of linking with a lot of other partners as well. So it's been a great partnership, sort of linking it and deliver that out. And they've done a great job. So I can see it iterate and grow into the future. So sort of give a definition of proof of useful work. So you might have sort of a miner now, and it does one thing, and then it gets old, and then it becomes obsolete. We're doing the same thing with infrastructure, but we're using the infrastructure to actually perform other tasks. So we might take your GPU and take it off the network. You don't even have to be mining with the GPU. It's an application. You could mine anything. You could be mining nothing. Or you could have the app open and use your PC at the same time if you partition off a bit of memory or a bit of RAM and a GPU. So sort of a smaller user interface. So you might have like 10,000 gaming PCs on it, like me and you have got, and a lot of PC enthusiasts have got. So we'll see that opportunity there. If you're like me, I started with a 5700 XT during the bull market. Started mining, started earning money, and then I scaled, and then the bull market came, and they put the electric up in the UK to something mad. And then I looked at nails, because that's a cheaper infrastructure on my electricity. I can run it at home, and that was my transition. So a lot of people from what I got, they follow the same transition and sort of build up as well. So you learn a lot through deploying a Flux node. It's not always the easiest thing to do, because you've got to know, if you want to do it yourself, you've got to know how to build a basic PC. And a lot of people build gaming PCs, so I can see like a lot of adoption from that market, not just sort of traditional miners as well.
Yeah, there's definitely, when it comes to mining, it's either you have the at-home infrastructure, which includes the power to run it, which can, nowadays with the cost of power and electricity and everything, just there's no going down from here. It's just going to keep going up, 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 up. And it's getting to the point where it's almost making so that mining is becoming less and less worth it, because you're taking your what you're getting from mining and putting a big chunk of those proceeds back into paying just for your electricity costs. So when you do have to kind of branch out and start looking at those different options, and when we're running a node is also a great option, especially one that kind of pays back when you put into it. So that's really great to hear that. And Flux is really, once again, kind of reiterating what I said earlier, of bringing different options out there to the masses for people to be able to get involved. So that's really great to hear. And that, when you're working with companies that are also providing the utilities and the things that you need to be able to run these things. I was just quickly looking at the Octominer site, and they look really awesome. Like they're pretty much like boxes that you can put a whole bunch of GPUs into that have all the cooling systems and the chipsets and everything that you need to be able to run it all. And that's really, that's breaking down and making it easier for people, as opposed to building your own kind of boxes like this. Because I've seen some homemade GPU mining boxes, and they're nothing. They look nothing compared to what these ones look like. These are professional made ones, whereas, I've seen people kind of take a PC box and just kind of mishmash it and fit a whole bunch of GPUs into it with a bunch of extra fans into it, and just kind of make it work, is what they kind of go with.
Yeah, it's heads or tails, because I've done both. So I mine with auto miners and custom mining frames. And for auto miners, the way to go, just purely because of the amount of airflow it can get through it with fans. It might not be the quietest, but when it ramps up and it's like 20 odd degrees outside, and you've got like a load of mining rigs, if you've not got the optimal airflows, your GPUs are going to burn. Well, I would say mine, even with the highest cards, it keeps them ice chilled. So it's great. And I think they also do immersion tanks. So I think you can put in your ASIC miners, KDA ASIC miners, into their immersion tanks for liquid killing. So definitely go check out the website.
Yeah, they definitely have lots of really cool options. Like you said, they do have immersion tanks, which seems to be the way a lot of people are going, because it cuts down on your overall costs, and also the lifespan of your miners drastically increases when you use liquid cooling. It's just a larger initial cost, but those are usually offset by the savings that you're going to get and the extended longevity of your miners.
Yeah. And from what I've listening to full spend mining and Mocha as well, you can ramp up the overclocks to 30% or something above standard. So obviously getting that extra yield on your KDA. So as you say, it chips away over time.
Yeah, it's kind of the same idea of, investing in solar panels or things like that. It's the initial cost is rather large, but the long-term savings is what's going to make your return on investment come a lot quicker. Now, one thing you mentioned there earlier a second ago was this Cypherpunk meetup that you guys are hosting. Do you want maybe discuss a little bit about that and how people can get involved with that, and maybe some of the really cool speakers that we're gonna see there?
Oh yeah, that's happening very fast. So it's coming up. So I think it's the 27th to 28th of September in Fort Lauderdale in the States. We've got some great partners already. We've got Kadena sponsoring us, Olcora, I think some of the other partners as well. Yeah, and if you want to check it out, it's cypherpunk2023.com, and everything's on there. So all the speakers are on there. There's going to be, it's sort of not a huge conference like Bitcoin, mining, things like that. I think it's going to be a couple of thousand people, which is still pretty big, but it's sort of more of a project for the people. So the ticket admissions are going to be a lot cheaper as well. So it starts at $50, should I say, for students, going all the way up to sort of 250 to then the VIP package as well. So it's not super expensive. You might have seen, like, we've brought on Crypto Russ George as sort of the co-host as well. So the speaker list growing very fast. We've got Kadena speaking, so that's going to be great, and then lots of other people. So it won't just be sort of the same thing. We've got people across GameFi as well, so a lot of the Flux people are there as well, and I think you'll see more coming very quickly in the next few weeks. So the top package is $599 and then $249, but then you also get a meal. You get access to all the guys for the VIP stuff, so you'll be knocking spaces with a lot of people. We've got sort of Sar Baltimore there as well. We've got Kadena, we've got Coin Request, then we've got Terra, we've got Kadena Mining Club, Flux Pools, and we've got Terra. We've got some of the hobbyist miner. We've got Block Tides, we've got Coinpedia. And then we've got all the speakers from the different ecosystems. So it's going to be a really jam-packed event. I know tickets are going. And yeah, if you want to check it out, come and join us. It won't be the normal sort of media partners ones, Bitcoin maxes and all that sort of stuff. It'll be a spread group who are the people who are sort of cypherpunks and really looking forward to the development of Web3 and the surrounding ecosystems, and there might be a few more surprises yet to come from what I'm hearing. So I can't go too more into that, but yeah, it'll be great to see as many people we can there.
Now, are you going to be there? Because I see like a lot of the Flux team is going to be there.
I need to speak to my wife regarding that. So I won't confirm that at this point, but let's see.
Well, yeah, that's always the case, right? You got to make sure it goes past the wife first, and if she says no, then that's not much you can do about it at that point.
Yeah, and it's going to be streamed live as well, so there will be opportunities to sort of get inside it if you're like me in the UK. A lot of people are making it sort of. I know some people are actually making it the holidays to hang out in Miami and get some sun. I know Jeff, you definitely living in Canada, is really looking forward to getting some sun in Fort Lauderdale.
Well, I'm in Canada as well, and we went down to the Central Con in Miami when it was on in November of last year, and so who knows? Maybe we'll see if maybe I'll talk to my big boss man there, Kobe, and see if maybe some of our team members might be interested in going, because you never know. We always love having a chance to talk with people in the community and outreach and get to talk to even more things, because that's really what these events are all about, is outreach and getting to speak to other people you may not necessarily get to speak to, because it's one thing to talk to someone in a Telegram chat or Discord or something, but it's another thing to be face to face with someone and be able to speak with that way. It's definitely a different experience.
I find it completely different because people start calling me TSN and I'm like, that's not actually my name. I'm not a doxed person. I'm a real person. I just when I sort of float, I'm happy to sort of say I support Flux and stand up for Flux, because my day job's BI. I work for a major publisher in the UK and around the world. So I think we're probably about the fourth biggest academic publisher in the world, and that's how it works. So Flux is my passion. I do this as well. But yeah, traveling in these events and sort of organising and working around the community, a lot of people are putting in a lot of effort, and it definitely doesn't go sort of unnoticed. I know our marketing team, especially Betty, if you want to get in contact, I think Betty will be glad to set you up and have you come along, or have some of your team come along.
Yeah, we'll definitely look into it. I know that end of September is a good time to kind of get away and go down there, because it's like the kids are going back to school, so you don't have to worry so much about that. And things kind of open up. And Fort Lauderdale is a great place. That's where we landed. I landed into Fort Lauderdale and kind of spent some time there. And it's really a fun place. Lots of people to get involved. And it's really like you find that Florida and that area is actually quite booming when it comes to crypto. You see a lot of crypto stuff out there. A lot of the conferences are held there. So I'm sure it'll probably be another amazing event, and hopefully, I might be able to find our way down there. It'd be very cool to actually get to shake some hands with some of the Flux teams.
And I know there'll be sort of show-offs and sort of a lot of the GameFi products as well that are launching. So I know SGK is going to be milling around and networking, and then you can come and listen to the guys from KDA speak as well, to understand what's going on in your ecosystem. So I think we've got Dan McGinns, your business development VP. So he'll be speaking. So if you want to find out what's going on KDA and a lot of the surrounding projects as well. So there's a lot coming up in the space, and a lot being built in the bear market across both ecosystems.
Awesome. Well, that pretty much covers everything that I had to speak about. I don't know if there's any topics that you feel we may have missed, or any kind of like hidden alpha that you haven't, that the team hasn't brought out that maybe they want to share with us today, without getting yourself in trouble. I don't want things to come back and get yelled at by the big boss man.
No, I think most of it's though. A lot of the stuff's, I think Dan went on a bit of a rant a couple of weeks ago and he leaked just about everything. So most of it's out there, but most of it's to do with the proof of use or work. So it's probably going to be used and adopted by a lot of people. You don't think about using it around supply chain, medicine, supermarkets, people like that, big companies who want to host their infrastructure, and sort of having that available. It won't be just normal users, it'll be everybody. So a PC user can just click on install an app and start running an AI model, or spin up a game server, or do headless compute. So I know I think they had Roblox, so they had like an 8-year-old iPad which was running on somebody's PC at home. There's loads of different application infrastructures that proof of use will work sort of enables for us that a lot of people haven't realized yet. So if you ever think about it, I'm sure a lot of people can work it out. So what we've not announced yet.
Well, yeah, you never know what the future is going to have in store, and once more people start seeing the usefulness of Flux and how it makes it just kind of, because we keep seeing these instances when AWS and those structures have issues, it just causes these huge ripples right through the entire internet and the entire services, from your favorite like social media platforms to some of your favorite websites. Just all of a sudden they're just not available, and you're just at the mercy of some centralized entity, hoping they get their shit together and get things back up and running. Whereas you can run your system on something like Flux, whereas you're not dealing with just one big server building where power could go out and that whole server building goes down. You're dealing with thousands of people all contributing their own computing power and their own storage space, so that if it doesn't matter if my PC goes down and my Flux nodes go down, it doesn't make any difference, because there's thousands of them to pick up the slack. It's one of the best things.
If Flux goes down, I'd be rather worried. Because it probably needs something happening worldwide.
Yeah, we have bigger issues about if you can't get onto your favorite website if all the Flux nodes go down. Then obviously that's like all the Bitcoin nodes that keep going down, and people don't understand when they keep hearing this whole of like, the USA is going to ban Bitcoin. It's like, no, you can't ban something that's decentralized. You can block access through the centralized entities that they control, but you'll never stop. The only way you can ever stop Bitcoin or a decentralized network like Flux
is if the world stops it.
Literally shut down the entire internet. That's it. That's your only option, is turn off the internet everywhere. And that's impossible now, because we're at a point in the world where entire systems that we all rely upon for our everyday stuff all run on this infrastructure. So it's impossible. The governments of the world would never, ever, ever consider, let's just shut off internet altogether. The only way that would happen would be some kind of EMP event that shuts out all electronics or something like that.
Yeah, exactly, which is another worrying thing. But yeah, never mind. I don't know if we've got anything else to talk about, but yeah, that'd be great. If you want to find out more, I think we've got another AMA coming up in about a week, so you can check that out as well. We're also looking at doing a bigger space, a bigger event with all our Flux Labs partners. So we've not announced that yet, so I'm not going to confirm the date. But yeah, that'll be coming. So there'll be hopefully get a lot of the partners involved. If you're a builder and you want to sort of find out more about the proposition, get in contact with us. I can link you in with our BDO team. And yeah, let's continue to grow together.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for joining us today and speaking about Flux. It's been really great learning more about this. I'm sure a lot of people have been kind of on the fence and not really sure about what Flux really is and stuff like that. But I think we've explained it very well. And hopefully we'll start seeing more people taking advantage of this amazing system that you guys have built. So make sure everyone listening. Oh, go ahead.
It'll be big to a lot more developers as well. Will become one thing that's being missed is sort of we use a lot of everything. Well, I'd say if you can Dockerize it, you can run it on Flux. So you got to think about that. We've got Kubernetes coming up as well, as part of proof of use will work. So that's another sort of huge milestone forward in what we've done. So our last update, Flux version 4, was sort of getting Flux to be enterprise ready. So improving security, giving you private Docker images, so you can control your application, building that trust to give us that platform and build on for the future. So I just wanted to give a shout out to that because it's a huge bit of work. It was probably get launched on Monday, probably one of the biggest updates we've ever done.
Awesome. Well, make sure everyone's on the lookout for that. And make sure, if you're listening, go follow Flux. They're all run on flux.io, run on Flux on Twitter. They have lots of different social media from Facebook to Discord to Telegram, YouTube, pretty much everywhere. If you name a social platform, they're pretty much on it. They even have a Twitch channel, which is really cool. Yeah, get involved, start running your own nodes, maybe stake some Flux and help run other nodes.
Building up. If you want to run a private script, Dockerize it, stick it on Flux, get the app whitelisted, and get involved with learning how to develop. So a lot of those people are going to need these skills in the future, and they just don't realize it yet. So it's good to get ahead of the game.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you again, Richard, for joining us today. It's been really great learning more about Flux and hearing from the team. And hopefully, once more people get involved, maybe once we get closer to the Cypherpunk event, we can have another one of these spaces and catch up a little bit more. But I want to thank you for joining us and everyone for listening today. It's been an absolute great AMA. And like he said, get involved with Flux. Start putting your programs on Flux. Start running your dApps on Flux. Everything that you need in a computing program is there. It's just waiting for you to start running on it. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. It's been great to sort of join, because normally I do these things from the other perspective. I'm normally asking the questions rather than being asked them. So it's been a great experience. I love doing these sort of things. So yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. Like I said, go follow Flux, run on flux.io, join all their social medias, and get involved. So thank you very much for listening, everyone, and have a great day and take care.
You too. See you later, everybody. Bye.
That wraps up another amazing AMA. Thank you for listening. Here at Kadena Ecosystem, we strive to bring an open platform for projects being built on Kadena to present themselves to the community. Please ensure to do your own research on the projects before investing. Also ensure to follow us on our social media from Twitter to subscribing to our weekly newsletter to keep up to date on everything KDA related. You can find all the links in the description below. Take care.